What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host that just started watching that show on Amazon called The Boys. Oh my god, it's messed up. Zach, and today's subreddit is r/pro revenge. This story's called Bully Me? Fine, but I'll start a fire as I leave. I originally posted this in Nuclear Revenge, but was told to post it here instead. Sorry it's so long, till at the end. The title is meant as a metaphor. There was not a literal fire. I wish I had, though. I worked at a Fortune 500 company for almost a year and a half. I won't name names, but it was a shady company to say the least. I started in their quality department, but I was literally fired for being too quality for the quality department because I would report sales agents that were forcing crying retirees into making a purchase. So they moved me to the business verification department, so I could instead make the customers happier with their purchase. I'm sorry to say I was far too good at this job as well. I got constant kudos from the quality department that I always hit my marks. I always verified and corrected information, followed procedure to a T, and even took on several extra projects just to help out, including preparing and sending gifts out to our higher volume customers on behalf of the sales reps. I was always on time, I was friendly with everyone, and yet I didn't quite fit in. As a matter of fact, only one person on this new team was someone I could talk to. The others were all mid to late 30s with kids and husbands or ex-husbands. Best way to describe them, it's the Heathers that grew old and hated it. They would constantly bully me. I don't mean tease me, I mean they would joke about forcing me to work in a broom closet. They would report me for cell phone use even though cell phones were allowed, just no recording or video calling since we would verify card and address information verbally. They would deliberately leave me out of company food orders and celebrations and even convince the manager not to promote me, and instead promoted someone who had been there less time with worse quality, only because she fit in better. She'd literally cost the company money shipping product to the wrong address multiple times and was still promoted within the department. They would also berate me for the state of my desk. I will say I don't keep a super clean desk, but we are not customer facing, and it was my organized chaos. It wasn't old food or trash, just a general scattering of notes and trinkets that never overflowed past my desk. The real juice here, though, was about 4 months into this position, I started documenting all the bullying. Every instance, every word with a date and time, and often a reference within the company system for where to locate proof of the bullying, all on those little notepads. Well, one day I come back from lunch, and they had gone through my desk to clean it, going so far as to move my trinkets and pictures around on my desk. I took everything home that day, but I know they'd actually been after my notebooks. Thankfully, I just had to buy a third one. I'd filled up the first two, so it was mostly empty. The final straw came on a fateful February afternoon. It was a Thursday. The one coworker I got along with and I had been texting back and forth, mostly Craigslist ads for job openings and funny memes to get us through the day, because remember, phones are allowed. She goes to lunch as I'm coming back, and I get called into their lawyer's office. Me and my one and only friend were being given formal write-ups. Why? The direct quote, "Your coworkers know you are texting about them and laughing, and they don't like it." So, I was getting a write-up because of an assumption that they had no proof of to begin with and wasn't even remotely true. The topper of this was as I exited the write-up, one of them was FaceTiming her husband, which was against the rules, but of course, she wasn't even spoken to about it. I was done. Beyond done. I put my head down. barely worked for the rest of the day. When I got home, I texted my manager and let her know I was using paid time off and I'd be out Friday. I spent the whole weekend working on my resignation because I wanted it to be just right. You see, I'd been there for a year and a half at that point, and I knew a few things about how this shady company operates by now. I knew on Thursday this was gonna be my first time ever to quit a job, and I wanted to do it upright. I wrote in there specific details of the bullying. Dates, times. I mentioned I had many more examples documented. I wrote how it was known behavior and even condoned by the manager. I wrote about the write-up, then, after many critiques, I saved it as a draft. I walked in on Monday morning, 8 a.m. on the nose. I didn't bother clocking in, and I'd already cleaned out my desk, remember? I sat down, printed 2 copies of my email, and then sent it directly to the CEO. I, of course, dropped a copy off with HR and then walked out. Not a word to my manager. Only my one friend knew the plan. You see, I knew they'd snuff out the fire if I said anything to them about why I quit. Sweep it under the rug. Oh well, one more person who quit. By involving the CEO, I eliminated that as an option. In 30 minutes, their lawyer was calling me for an exit interview. They were worried I would sue for a hostile working environment. In hindsight, I should have, but I was more worried about my mental health than monetary compensation. I found out from my friend that I had, in fact, started that fire. The whole department was put under review for bullying, cell phones were completely banned, and the manager and her lackeys, last I heard, had been demoted. I also heard whispers that they dissolved it completely and merged it with the quality team, but I'm not positive on that. I'm sure it didn't fix everything, but I hope they at least keep their hands out of other people's desks from now on. Edits for clarity based on many comments. This story is from approximately 4 years ago. I googled to see if it was still a Fortune 500 company to this day, and it is. It was not a large company, maybe 400 or 500 people. Most of them were sales, like 90% were sales. Again though, that was 4 years ago. I have no idea how big they are now. I was not a rando emailing the CEO. I had met with and spoken with the CEO several times. The write-up was not just me and the lawyer. My manager and the HR head were also there. They did force me to sign it though, which I found out later was very illegal, but I did get copies of it for my copious amounts of documentation, which I do still have. I am by no means perfect. I'm very non-confrontational, so emailing the CEO and walking out was a big move for me. But by that point, it was either walk out or throw myself off the top floor. So I elected to walk out. The statements I made about my performance are ones that were told to me, most of which by the same quality manager who fired me. She was actually quite a nice person and quit just a few weeks before I did and offered me a reference because I know she saw what I was going through and was hoping I'd quit too. I know I'm not the perfect coworker, but at the minimum, I tried to do a good job. When I say I was too good at the business verification position, I mean I am too good at assuaging the concerns of a retiree who just spent several $1,000s on things that were essentially worthless. I didn't enjoy being good at that, but I was. The salespeople would always try to get the verification call sent to me because they knew I'd be able to get it done. A few people have questioned the reality of this post, which honestly surprises me. I thought my story was quite tame, all things considered, but everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I'm open to questions, but I am trying to maintain anonymity for the company. Not because I want to, just because I know they have a social media department that monitors reviews and things about the company. I hope this clears things up, but again, I'm open to questions. I got a good question. What color's your hair? This story's called Pass Me for Manager Promotion and Hire Your Useless Credit-Stealing Friend? I'll destroy your career. Long story, teal at the bottom. So this is not my story. Got permission to post from the Pro Revenger himself, but due to nature of events, I don't mind my account being made into a sacrificial lamb if it got back to people involved, as my account is essentially expendable. So the story. Dave, not a real name, has been working for an IT programming company for just over 9 years, getting a good rep as a hard worker, and all his colleagues knew him and can trust him to be a big help in times of trouble, like during big, difficult projects for major clients. Dave's manager, John, was planning to retire and thought Dave would be a good replacement, so put his name forward as a recommendation and started showing him the ropes of his potential new job just to give him a glimpse of what he may be asked to undertake. A month later, John puts in his notice of retirement and Dave's department manager, Michael, starts the interview process. Some character info. Whilst John was a good manager, very people-friendly, Michael was not. All Michael cared about was numbers and reports. He didn't even know who most of his staff was, nor did he have very much interaction with them. Back to the story. Michael had started the interviews to fill John's position, Dave being one of the interviewees, and Dave thought the interview went really well. A few nervous months later, Michael announces the new manager. It's an outside employment, not an internal promotion. Dave was disappointed but brushed it off as there is always someone better for the job. But in less than a week, he realized just how wrong he was. The new manager, Darren, was below useless. He didn't know how to spell computer program, let alone write one. Turns out he was old friends with Michael, and Michael had helped him fabricate his resume to get him the job. The news quickly spread to all the programmers, but there was nothing they could do as Michael was the person all complaints had to go through and he buried all of them. So, no one above Michael knew of Darren's incompetence. Darren, from day one, had been pushing all his work to others and then claiming credit for the work they had done, getting bonuses for completed work he didn't deserve. Darren spent his days watching movies, napping, playing games, and occasionally pretending to be a manager when the need arose, but never wrote a single line of code. After 3 months of this, the extra workload was starting to affect Dave and others, but talking to Michael would do nothing. So Dave devised a plan to sort it out. Time for the pro revenge. Dave had talked with all the other programmers and agreed next time Darren pushed a major project onto them to purposely sabotage the work. Not in a big way, just enough to cause some bugs and glitches that will really light a fire under Michael and Darren. It took about another month, but a really big project came in. Immediately, Darren started pushing his work onto others and stealing credit, so the plan was put into action. It was easy to accomplish, especially as Darren had no clue about coding, and Michael didn't care as long as the project was done in good time. The project was done, saved, and sent to the client with almost all of the major work credit being stolen by Darren. It took less than 2 days for the client to call back complaining about how the new program has damaged his systems and was wreaking havoc on his company. The client wanted it fixed and a full refund. The bosses were pissed at Michael. Michael tried to shift the blame onto Darren. Darren tried to shift the blame onto the programmers. Dave and the programmers just pointed out the program wasn't their project and denied any involvement in its development, which brought the attention back to Darren. The fallout. With the bosses coming down on Darren for what happened, he confessed he lied on his resume and he ratted out Michael about how he helped him fabricate it. Dave and programmers denied any wrongdoing, just stating Darren must have damaged the program somehow. Michael and Darren were promptly fired and replaced. Dave and the rest fixed the errors that Darren had created and the client was happy. In the end, Dave didn't get the promotion, but left the company a year later for a better job. Okay, honestly, while it is a horrible thing to do and they should feel bad, I think it's incredibly funny, and that guy must have had a blast for a few months while he was just coasting through, just sitting in his office doing absolutely nothing and getting paid for it. I'm assuming good money. It's messed up. Don't take jobs from actual qualified people because, you know, they work hard to be qualified for things, right? I'm assuming. Alright guys, you know the drill by now. Happy story at the end of every revenge video, and today we are reading a story called The Difference in Management Can Make or Break a Job. My finally happy story. I recently took a new job a few months ago in a smaller, still level 3 NICU from a much larger corporate-esque and high-profile city hospital. At my first NICU job, I was treated like garbage, and for no apparent reason. According to those who had been there for much longer, the management picks and chooses who to bully. For example, during code training, the FiO2 didn't get turned up during a delivery. When it was time to turn the FiO2 down, the Neo thought we were much higher. I reached to turn the dial. We were at 21%. Not only was I training, and yes, I felt guilty I missed it, but there was a resident, a fellow, an attending, 2 other code nurses, and a respiratory therapist on the resuscitation. Baby got CPAP for a few minutes and ended back on room air and stayed with mom and L&D. After that, I was called to the manager's office, told, "I heard you were crying." I never was. And taken off training additionally. I was asked if I knew how to properly bag and mask and had to redo my NRP with the educators, which was renewed 3 weeks prior. My manager wasn't even the one to tell me all this was happening. The night charge let it slip that I would no longer finish my training. To say I was offended and hurt was just the beginning of it. I took the fall for FiO2 not being turned up during training. And there were also 6 other sets of eyes who missed it. At the time, I already had 2 years level 3 experience, so this wasn't my first rodeo. Crap like this happened to me constantly. It was just another day on a prestigious unit. I hated going to work. On top of it, my old manager is known for making fun of her employees to other employees. Yes, you heard that correctly. Now I'm finally in a place where I'm respected. The other night, we had a tragic case, and the next morning, my new manager handed me a bouquet of flowers. I must have had a confused look on my face because she went on to say, "It's for having a tough night, working great as a team, and I wanted to brighten your morning." I could have cried. Instead of being questioned about what I could have possibly done wrong, I was thanked for what I did right. That's a healthy work environment. Man, these hostile work environments are out of control, and that sucks when the people in charge are literally the ones that are giving you the grief. It's a good thing that she has a new manager now, and she can be happy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.